Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of The Expendable Show. I'm your host, The Expendable. So, it's very interesting. So I came home from work yesterday, and my door was unlocked and open. And I came in, and my laptop has been completely zapped. So I had to get up and go buy a new laptop this morning. So I don't know what's going on with that, but it's being looked into. I find it very disturbing. They don't ever do stuff when I'm home. They wait till I leave and then they do things. But if you like my show, like, subscribe, and ding the bell. And let's start with the statistics this week. So Doge, we're up to $160 billion. Shoo! Yeah, it's allergy season in Georgia. We got pollen everywhere. For those of you from the South, y'all know what I'm talking about. I can't keep my car clean. It's just covered in yellow pollen. But anyway, Doge, $160 billion on their on Doge.gov. That comes out to $993.79. So it's climbing. On the debt clock, we are at Doge has saved $350 billion, which is $3,122 per taxpayer. So we're starting to get somewhere there. Canadian Prime Minister race. Pierre is, which is the conservative candidate. He is closing the gap on Carney. Carney did pull away real good, but now Pierre's catching up. This is going to turn into a race. So Carney's at 42.7. Pierre's at 38.3. I mean, last week it was 5 points. And this week we're at 4.4. So he's catching up. We're almost inside the margin of error. The debate they had did not go well for Carney. That's for sure. A lot of Canadians saw right through him, and he's just another entitled oligarch of Europe. Trump's approval rating 46.6. He's kind of just hovering around, like he's in this 46, 47 range all the time, which is fine. We're gonna see a change in that here pretty soon. But the Democrats have not changed. They're at 21% still. But they go by the MSNBC one, which is 27%. They're ignoring the CNN 21% one. Eggs 4.15 under Biden, and they are at $3.13 a dozen. So we're in a good direction there with the old eggs. Gas, $3.30 under Biden. We're at $3.17 average. Once again, if you guys want to know about your areas, get on AAA.com. They do an excellent job of mapping that out for everybody. They do it state by state. It's actually really good. I use it all the time. I don't even use AAA, but they have a good gas map. Mortgages. So this is where I'm starting to get upset with these mortgages, because the Fed is really, Jerome Powell is completely outside of his mind. How can you have a 5,000 point dip in the stock market in the Dow and you don't touch the interest rates? It doesn't make any sense. He should be adjusting it, like making an adjustment plan, like maybe a half a point this week, half a point next week, but he's doing nothing. Actually, the interest rates are at 7.02%, and under Biden it was 6.7. I can't blame Trump, because he readjusted the stock market. We should be seeing rates down in like the 4.5 to 5%. But we're not seeing that because Jerome Powell is refusing to cooperate with the markets. Trump did come out and say he's not going to fire Jerome Powell, although I don't understand how this guy keeps his job. But he was doing the same thing when Trump was president the first time until he didn't have a choice. So now, first big story of the day. We're going to talk about this Abrego Garcia, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. So I have an opinion on this, but let's get into what is happening now. So a federal judge in Maryland accused the Trump administration of willful and bad faith refusal to comply with the court orders in the case of illegal immigrant and suspected MS-13 gang member Kilmar Abrego Garcia's deportation to El Salvador. Now, there's a liberal ex-creator, and his name's Brian Krasenstein. Him and his tiny little dwarf brother, Ed, all they do is cheer for China all the time on X. But he posted the picture that of Trump held up of Abrego Garcia, where it showed his hand tattoos, his finger tattoos. And he was like, yeah, that really says MS-13, doesn't it? Well, if you're a dumbass, it doesn't say MS-13. But if you're somebody who spends your whole life dissecting organized crime groups and knowing what gang tattoos mean, then you'll know that it does say MS-13. So, you liberals I get it. You guys want everything exactly spelled out for you because you lack the mental competency to problem solve what gang tattoos are. I get it. They are complicated, and you have to sit down and do some thinking as to what they mean. But if us conservative people can figure it out, surely you Harvard and Yale educated liberals can figure it out. Okay, now, so this judge, U.S. District Judge Paula Zinnes, she was nominated by Obama. Imagine that, Obama's judge is going against Trump. She accused the Trump administration of obstructing the legal process and refusing to provide information about the steps they have taken, if any, to free Abrego Garcia from Salvadorian custody and return him to the United States. So if we go rewind, I think a week and a half ago, the U.S. Supreme Court voted 9-0 that the Trump administration needs to get with El Salvador to facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia. Well, El Salvador's president says, I'm not returning him. So Trump can't facilitate because the El Salvador president, he doesn't have to abide by the United States Supreme Court. They have zero jurisdiction outside of the United States. So I think that's the plan him and Trump came up with. He's like, well, they can't tell you what to do. Just say you're not going to send them back. So that's what happened. And so the liberals know that this is the deal that they probably made together. And so they're mad because there's nothing that they can do about it. So they're trying other avenues where this radical Paula Zinnes is getting on there and saying, well, the Trump administration is refusing to follow the court order, even though he's like, how can I follow the court order when another president won't cooperate? So she went on to say, if defendants want to preserve their privilege claims, they must support them with the required detail. Otherwise, they will lose their protections they failed to properly invoke. And she's talking about the evidence that Abrego Garcia is violent, a criminal, gang member, human trafficker. So what did Trump do? He gets on Truth Social and posts the picture. And that's the infamous picture that everybody sees now of Abrego Garcia's finger tattoos. See, I got finger tattoos, but mine don't say MS-13, I promise. Actually, mine's just a sword on my ring finger to remind me to not get married to ever again because women are flakes. No offense, women, but in my experience, y'all are flakes. Anyway, so Trump posted the picture. saying, hey, he's got gang tattoos. What do you want me to do? Then she went on to say, Trump went on to say, this is the man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, that the courts are trying to save from being deported. He was supposed to be, according to the judge and Democrats, a wonderful father from Maryland. But then they noticed he had MS-13 tattooed on his knuckles, and lots of really bad stories about his past where he liked to beat on his wife. He had a protection order on him, and I think he was arrested twice. He said, this is the gang that is perhaps the worst of them all. What is wrong with our country? I agree. But we're going to get into my deep-rooted thoughts here in a second. The Justice Department unveiled documents last week detailing domestic violence allegations that Abrego Garcia's wife, Jennifer Vasquez, included in a court filing in 2021. Vasquez alleged in the filing that Abrego beat her, and she has documentation of the bruises left on her. So there we have documentation. Vasquez alleged in the filing that Abrego Garcia, that's just what I read. So additionally, in 2022, Homeland Security investigations reported that Abrego Garcia was suspected of partaking in labor and human trafficking. The report was said that a Tennessee Highway Patrol trooper pulled over Abrego Garcia in 2022 after swerving. The patrol officer found 8 other individuals in the car with Abrego Garcia, and which Abrego Garcia had just began driving like 3 days prior to that. Here's what I want to do. President Trump, just go ahead and listen to me on this one. Bring him back. Bring him back, because all I'm hearing is the left getting on TV saying, oh, he at least deserves due process. Okay, bring him back and put him out on the streets, nab him up 5 seconds later, and detain him pending investigation of his citizenship status. Expedite his court hearing so he is the next day, and let's throw all this out here and issue the due process and deport his ass. Just bring him back so we can deport him again. You want due process? We'll give you due process. And next time he's not going in the cushy little prison he's in now. He'll go straight to CCOT. And he ain't getting transferred out. So I think Abrego Garcia needs to make a decision. The former New Mexico judge this is a whole other news story that caught my eye, and I'm like, what the hell? There's a New Mexico judge who resigned last month after an alleged Tren de Aragua member was arrested at his home. And so now he can never serve on the bench again. It's already been ruled. Rightfully so. He's harboring terrorists. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court of New Mexico ordered that Joel Cano can never hold a judicial office again, be a candidate for a judicial office, and cannot exercise any judicial authority in the state, including officiating at weddings. Dang, you can't even do weddings. That's low. So back in January, Homeland Security investigations in Las Cruces began looking into Venezuelan native Christian Ortega Lopez, an illegal alien from Venezuela, and suspected the member of a criminal gang. He's a suspected member of a criminal gang who was residing with other illegal aliens and in possession of firearms, according to court documents. So this dude's got guns, not just a handgun. There's a picture of him holding an AR-15. Who gave him the AR-15? Oh, the judge's daughter did. Here, have an AR-15. So there's so many violations going on right here. And I'm glad they got this judge off the stand. You can't harbor terrorists. He should actually be federally charged, I believe. If he's harboring terrorists, it's treason, period. period. Next, Klaus Schwab. So we're going to talk about Klaus Schwab. As everybody knows, he has fully stepped away from being the director of the World Economic Forum, which he founded. So he just recently turned 87 years old. He's getting up there. And he made a statement, said, following my recent announcement and as I enter my 88th year, I have decided to step down from the position of chair and as a member of the board of trustees with immediate effect. So, well, I'll tell you why here in a second. The World Economic Forum's board of trustees included notable figures such as former U.S. Vice President Al Gore, a Democrat who served alongside Bill Clinton, and Larry Fink, a chair and chief executive officer of investing firm BlackRock. So here you have some of the elite shadow government elites. Fact. And so that this is the type of people that Klaus Schwab kicks it with. Actually, these are the type of people that Klaus Schwab tells what to do. So why did Klaus Schwab resign? Well, a lot of people don't realize that there is actually pending litigation against the World Economic Forum and naming Klaus Schwab for sexual harassment, bullying in the workplace. This guy has so many pending lawsuits that are all coming to a head right now. So he got out before they kicked him out because I think he knows they got him. They got him dead to rights, which whatever. Klaus Schwab not being in there is a good day for the world. This guy's nothing but a Marxist. He wants to run the world. That's what his whole plan was. He wanted to be the shadow emperor of the globe. So I'm glad he stepped away. Now, who replaced him? That's the big one. Who replaced Klaus Schwab? Well, their interim chairman is a guy named Peter Brabeck Letmanth. Whatever. He is the chairman and CEO of Nestle, the Nestle Group, which is the chocolate. He was born in Germany, but he claims Austria, just like everybody over there. Klaus Schwab, he was born in Switzerland, but claims Germany, and then went back to Switzerland. So this Peter Brabeck Letmanth, he is also on the board of directors of the Credit Suisse Bank, which merged with the United Bank of Switzerland. Look, all these people make sense if you go read my book, The Swiss Effect, right here. Because I already covered all this stuff. I know who all these people are. So for Mr. Peter to be on the board of directors of Credit Suisse, which Credit Suisse got into some financial issues, so the United Bank of Switzerland went in and bailed them out and bought them out. So they are now merged together under the United Bank of Switzerland, which if you read my book, you'll know that the United Bank of Switzerland is one of the originators through their NGO of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which is what is the woke trash that has infiltrated our country that Donald Trump is pushing back against, which is why Donald Trump went to the World Economic Forum via Zoom and just basically told him, go screw yourself, because I'm not doing your little communist plan. So this is it. Schwab's out, but you have the next generational guy in there. So did we really defeat this socialist movement? No, we didn't. If you read my book, you'll exactly know why the World Economic Forum and all those acronym global organizations in Switzerland are very, very, very socialist, Marxist, communist. I call everybody out in that book, which is why a lot of people don't like me. So he is also on the board of the makeup brand L'Oreal and ExxonMobil. He did spark some controversy in his career, and it's weird because he's the CEO of Nestle, and Nestle makes they have one of their products is bottled water. But he came out and made a statement that he said, "Well, we shouldn't be charging for water. Water should be a human right," which I agree with that. I don't think we should be charging for water. I think our water usage should be monitored. Obviously, if you don't charge for water, everybody and their mom is just going to overuse water. But we shouldn't be charging, countries that don't have a lot of water. We shouldn't be charging them for the water that they need to survive, like desert areas. So that's my take on that. But I'm going to be keeping my eye on this guy and see if he ends up being the permanent chairman of the World Economic Forum. They're just going to replace one psycho with another psycho. The good thing is Klaus Schwab's probably going to die never getting to see this plan happen. He never got to be emperor of the world. He never got the whole world to abide by his fourth industrial revolution, which is the book he wrote on how he was going to do all this. And the liberals in the world fell for it, and they follow that exact plan. So, screw Klaus Schwab. I'm glad he's out. Now we know that the Pope died as well. So I made a TikTok about this, and I got a lot of positive feedback on it. So I'm going to throw it out here on this show. I do not like to speak ill of the dead. It's something that I think if you do that, you're bound to be cursed. And, for those of you who know me, I always have Saint Michael on me. So, my faith is very deep. But I've had my suspicions of Pope Francis. In my opinion, I don't believe he was a vessel of God. I believe he was a fake. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing. I know he did all these things for poor people, and that's great and everything. But as far as what he tried to merge the Catholic Church into, I think was anti-church. It was anti-canon law. I don't like it, and I didn't really like him. However, we're probably going to end up with somebody just like him or worse, because I'm pretty sure I believe that 78% of the cardinals are liberal. So our only hope is this guy there actually is a guy from me and my dad were talking about this the other day. But my dad's like, well, we get one of them guys from Congo, one of them cardinals from Congo. Well, there is a cardinal from Congo that is in the running that they do believe has somewhat of a chance. He is very conservative. So I hope this cardinal from Congo gets it. And that may help save Christmas. But the path the church was going, it was bad. We just, you go, it's crazy when you look at the Catholic Church, because they've had controversy after controversy. They did the Crusades. They did, they had all the Freemasons rounded up and murdered, or the Crusaders. Then they did, they were in bed with the mafia, and people were getting executed all over Rome. And now they're into this whole woke ideology. Let's just, make everything okay, so we can make the globalist happy. And that just showed me that the church really doesn't have power, or at least with Pope Francis there. The church didn't have any power. If the church had power, if Pope Francis had power, he would have rejected the European globalist plan. So that's my opinion on it. If he's got to take orders from other people, he didn't have power. He was just doing what he was told. And that's God doesn't do what he was told. God has the power. So If Pope Francis was doing anything, he should have been listening to God and not a bunch of bureaucrats. So I'm gonna spend a little bit of time talking about a poll I saw today. Now, the Democrats seem to be trying to revolve their future base and their entire base around Gen Z and some of the younger whatever the hell they're called, the millennials. But what is going to happen with that, and what we're seeing in the polls? So Harvard Kennedy School's Institute of Politics did a poll, and Harvard's very liberal, so this tells you how bad it is, and they probably doctored it up to make it not so bad. So, well, let's just read the article, what their statement is. Fewer than 1 in 3 young Americans approve of the job of President Donald Trump. So that's 1 in 3, 33%. You might think, well, that's not very good, but actually it is good. Trump's approval numbers among Gen Z is rising. And it's because they're seeing, these college kids are seeing radicalization from the left. So some of these kids are starting to wake up out there, and I would assume it's going to get better. Hey, there's Shauna. So Trump has a very surprising approval rating amongst the youth. Now, you're seeing Bernie and you're seeing AOC running around out there trying to attract that age group. The problem is people can spot fakes. Okay, everybody knows Bernie sold his soul to Hillary Clinton. Nobody forgot that. Bernie's a sellout at the end of the day. He's going to go out there and get everybody amped up because he wants to pat his own back, but he bows to the lizard queen, which is Hillary Clinton. She's the lizard queen. Because, yeah, she's a reptilian. I'm going to say it. Hillary Clinton's a reptilian. And so there's that. We know he's a fake. AOC, she's the most obvious fake of them all, because every time she gets on TV, she gets more cringe than the time before. Like when she was trying to get Jamal Bowman reelected, which was a big, giant, ultimate fail because he got voted out. You know, she's on TV and trying to do jumping jacks and be trying to act kind of like a Puerto Rican gangster and like she's hip. But the problem is she overdoes it, and it makes her look like she's trying too hard. So to real people on the streets, they're going, this person, she ain't real. Because I know when I run into people like AOC, I don't mess with them because I know that they're fake. And you can't put your trust into people like that. I only stick to people that are real. Like if you're going to tell me exactly what you think and show me some, some kind of factual logic behind it, I'm gonna respect that. But if you're going to get up on TV and you're going to try to overexcite me or overstimulate me or try to get me caught up in my feelings, I can't mess with you. You're fake because you can't stand on your own platform. So you gotta go and try to rile up people's emotions. So she's a fake. AOC, Bernie Sanders, they both do the same thing. They're fake. So going on with this study that they did, so 1/3, according to a new national poll that's from the Harvard Kennedy School's Institute of Politics, says, but while the approval ratings for Trump and congressional Republicans have mostly stayed consistent, so we're seeing consistency since the start of the president's first administration 8 years ago, the 50th Harvard Youth Poll indicates that approval ratings for Democrats in Congress among Americans aged 18 to 29, that's Gen Z, have nosedived. According to Harvard's annual spring survey, which was conducted March 14th to the 25th, so this is recent, the approval rating for congressional Democrats stands at 23% amongst Gen Z. That's down from 42% in the spring of 2017. That's how bad. This should be a huge wake-up call. Because as we're seeing like guys like Dick Durbin, he just said, I'm not running again. Because he knows that he can't beat the Progressive Caucus now. His old methods are done. And AOC's got the momentum. And all these old heads are going to retire out. And they know that. So they're just going to get out the way. And this socialist movement, the progressive movement, is what lost Kamala Harris the presidency. This is what I want them to come in. Let them all get in there. Let them all get super radical. They'll never win an election, period. Except Oregon and California and parts of New York. The rest of the country is going to turn their back on this crazy lunacy. I'm not a big fan. I'm just not a big fan. I think that you're starting to see the Trumpers move left, or they're moving like right centrist as opposed to right. We're not moderates, but we're kind of in between like radical and moderate. So you're seeing a balancing out of the conservatives where the liberals are going straight radical. There's no moderate anymore. There's no left moderate. It's just either you're a radical or they're going to primary you. David Hogg said it. If you ain't getting it done, we're going to primary you with a younger person. Go right ahead. And you know all them America hating billionaires over in Europe are going to fund it because they love seeing the United States fall. They couldn't beat us on a battlefield, so they're going to try to just pay for the victory. Idiots. Whatever, Europe. You guys are all going bankrupt. So the last thing I'm going to talk about, and I just covered this on TikTok. I'm seeing a trend with this whole China deal. And so we've talked about this on the show before about Glenn Beck's book called The Overton Window. So what is the Overton Window, you might ask? That's right, Shauna. We hate Europe with a passion. They're a bunch of stuck-up snobs. And the French women don't ever shave their armpits. They're hairy. Anyway, I hope I don't know any French people. I'm going to get yelled at probably. I don't think I do. I guess I can be, no, I can't. I'm not allowed to be biased. I'm just going to get canceled for not liking French people. Whatever. But anyway, so the Overton Window. So what the Overton Window is, for those of you who don't know, it is a minimally acceptable event that society can handle and a maximum event that society can handle. And so what politicians try to do, we have minimum and maximum. Politicians will create an event that will fall in the middle of this range. And so they'll let it play out, and then they'll wait until America gets used to it. And then they'll go, bloop, we'll move the Overton Window. So now that moderate event is now minimally acceptable. So then they can drop a more radical thing in the middle of there. And they just keep moving the Overton Window until they get complete radicalization. This is how they infiltrated the Democrat Party. They use the Overton Window. Now, Trump is using it as well. This isn't a partisan strategy. Everybody uses this. I use it all the time as well. Trump went and said, okay, you guys, here's minimally acceptable and maximum acceptable. Trump dropped the first tariffs right in the middle and then waited. And then once the markets reacted to him, then he moved the Overton Window. And then he dropped a bigger one. And then he moved the Overton Window. And then he dropped that 145%. So what he's going to do because we didn't really have tariffs on China before. We did, but they weren't enough. So as we're all sitting here going 145%, that's really, really high. China's never going to do business with us. Oh, boo-hoo. Now Trump's saying, hey, maybe we should, come to a better term. So what he's going to do is he's going to drop that tariff down to 20 or 30%. And you know what that's going to do? It's going to make the markets go pew. And then it's going to make China react. It's going to make China soften their position. And then it's going to make Trump more popular. Then it's going to allow us to accept that we've tariffed China a little bit more, because now we just accepted 143%. No one's complaining about it that much now. So if Trump drops it, we're going to go, wow, he really cut them a good deal. As opposed to before, if we would have hit him with 30%, the whole world would have went, oh, you guys are mean to China. Well, now we've generated it into something that's perfectly okay. So Donald Trump's smart by doing it this way. He used the Overton window to create radicalization and then to dial it back to something that he knows we'll accept now, because we've seen what radicalization looks like. Trump's smart. I don't know if he meant to do it or if this is how it works out, but I pay attention to his maneuvers. I try to, when he does something, I automatically know that Trump is trying to take us in a direction. He makes a statement to take us in a direction. So I go, look, what direction is Donald Trump trying to put us in? And on this specific situation, I'm seeing the Overton window, which I'm fine with. That's, if you got to trick most Americans to accept a tariff that's rightfully fair on China when they over tariff us, I'm okay with that. You can trick the Americans. But I don't want them to get used to it. As we are now seeing, Trump is getting some kickback from, starting an aggressive kind of push to get people to start paying back their student loans. He has to remember that there are conservatives that do own these loans. Now, people should pay back their school loans. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but I'm saying maybe now is not the right time, because we're still trying to recover from inflation. I look for Trump to react to the public's outcry on that and to probably postpone things. That's my thought and my theory anyway. So we'll see what happens. I mean, Trump's got a heart for the lower and middle class. So I bet you he'll start hearing everybody get upset, and he'll go, well, maybe we should relook at that. Yeah. So basically, the Democrats are in a really bad situation. Trump came out and he's like, hey, Russia's ready to negotiate, Zelensky. Why are you still playing hardball? All you got to do is say, let's negotiate. So Ukraine's in a bad situation. China's in a bad situation. Taiwan's in a bad situation. and the United States, we're going to end up I'll give it by the end of May. The end of May, our economy is going to shoot through the roof. So everybody get ready. As these manufacturing jobs start moving over here and Trump starts getting these tariff deals done, because we're getting close to that time frame to where he needed them done. And, things are going to start getting better. We'll be able to make more money, and our dollar will stretch a little bit further. And all of our stock market gains will come back. Everybody quit freaking out. I mean, unless you're trying to retire right now, then you should probably freak out. But just give it a couple more months, and it's going to go. I think the Dow sitting at 38 or 39 and a half. It had gained over 400 points today. Yesterday, it gained 1,000. So Trump's bringing it back. And he would have got away with it. It wasn't for you darn kids and that mangy dog. That's my Scooby-Doo reference of the day. But that's pretty much going to wrap up the show for today. We just had these few things that happened. And I wanted to clarify them because there's a lot of misinformation going on and nobody pays attention to the World Economic Forum. So I always want to make sure that when there's news that comes out of there that somebody's paying attention to it, I pay attention to it. Because otherwise they'll sneak stuff in there and us Americans, our news don't tell us what happens in Europe. So we got to pay attention from other creators. And in summary, bring Garcia back so we can just put him through due process and deport him again. That's what I want. Just bring him back, Trump. Put him through due process. Deported. Didn't stop anything. Actually, thanks, Democrats, for making us spend money on bringing him back and then putting him in through court and then deporting him all over again. But that's my show. Everybody be safe out there. Watch out for the crazy lunatic liberals that are trying to protest and burn things down. I'm out. Peace.